The trail turns to sand pretty quickly, and I'm not prepared. Or maybe the right word here is inexperienced. Never mind the details, I vowed to keep up with the lead group, and there's little chance of my competitive spirit easing up now. My solution: stand up, grab a gear, and let the bike do the work. It obliges, ushering me rather effortlessly back to solid ground, where I quickly flash a reassuring yet totally fake grin that says, yeah, I had it the entire time. Truth being, it was almost always the bike. Almost never me. And that's about how my 2 days aboard the 2017 KTM 1090 Adventure R would go. I trusted it, because it was better than me. New for 2017, the 1090 Adventure R is two things. First, it's a response to the elephant in the adventure touring room, a response to anyone who's ever accused big bird venture bikes of being too big for actual off-road riding. And second, it's a practical means for separating KTM's 1290 Super Adventure R and the outgoing 1190 Adventure R, which would have been tough for dealers to distinguish on showroom floors. It's lighter, faster, and better off-road, KTM suggests, with the added benefit of being less expensive than the bike it replaces. Emphasis on the less expensive bit. And lighter. How do you get there? To start, KTM eliminated the overweight and underused or is it center stand, in addition to all of the associated hardware for more advanced rider aid systems, like cornering ABS, traction control and standard ABS remain. Second, it significantly updated the engine, which is a claimed 14 pounds lighter than the 1290's power plant and uses a new crankshaft, connecting rods, and pistons. In addition to weight savings, KTM's goal with the 1090 engine was to improve responsiveness at lower RPM, which it's done through a shorter stroke 63mm versus 69mm and a heavier flywheel. Tweaks to the combustion chamber plus added hardware were sure lead to full Euro 4 compliancy, while new cam timing, intake velocity stacks, and engine mapping round out the list of engine updates. The frame is the same as it is on the 1190, though KTM has updated the front fork with stiffer, 6.5 Nm springs versus 5.5 Nm, plus raised the fork oil level and stiffened the valving. Out back, it swapped the 1190 shock for a WP-built progressive damping system PDS shock, which through its design, stiffens up at the bottom of the stroke to limit bottoming out. Big picture, KTM knows the 1090 is still a big motorcycle, but wants you to get in some really technical off-road riding situations and not be stuck at the bottom of the bike's travel. As an added benefit, a non-linkage PDS shock requires less maintenance, as it eliminates some of the grease-hungry pivots and bearings. KTM arranged for us to ride the 1090 over the course of 2 days, on the trails leading in, out, and around KTM North America headquarters in Marietta, CA. A perfect option, because the trail network here is surprisingly extensive. And because if you build a bike that's meant to outperform its predecessor in the dirt, and don't at least cover 200+ miles off-road, then you'll probably have a hard time falling asleep at night. There's probably an asterisk in there about making sure we all came back on the verge of complete exhaustion, too. Think long days and good, hard riding. This one WASNT for the week. The 1090 Adventure R comes with 4 riding modes: Sport, Street, Rain, and Off-Road, all accessed through a dash and switch setup. That's identical to the 1190's. The dash itself is not nearly as pretty as the 1290's 6.5-inch TFT display, but it's cheaper for KTM to use and still easy enough to navigate, once you spend some time learning which switch will get you where in the setup menu. To ease my way into the day, I swapped over to off-road mode, which limits power output to 100 horsepower instead of the full 125 horsepower and softens the throttle opening. I also switched over to off-road ABS, which enables you to lock up the rear wheel, and is where I would leave the ABS set for the remainder of the ride. An accessory dongle allows this setting to stay sticky when the ignition is cycled, and well worth the money and time saved, I'd say. My love affair with off-road mode was a little less long-lasting than with the ABS, because while it made the entire package feel approachable, the honest truth is that it neutered the experience a little too much. Power delivery is predictable and smooth, but this is motorcycling. And motorcycling is supposed to be exciting. And so, almost immediately, I was back in street mode, with TC off. Which is where I'd stay. TC off and street mode activated, the 1090 still feels plenty powerful, with a touch less aggression than the 1190 at mid to high RPM. It doesn't snap when you so much as glance at the throttle, but at the same time, it doesn't feel significantly less powerful than its predecessor. I didn't miss the 25 horsepower, nor did I feel like I ever really needed it, the 1050cc engine feeling plenty capable of hustling me down a trail or holding a reasonable pace RPM on open stretches of pavement. It feels tractable and smooth down low, plus very flexible overall, meaning you can get away with riding second, third, or fourth gear, higher RPM or lower, and not really feel like you're missing out on the torque party. In many ways, it's a perfect balance between user-friendliness and performance. It also does massive third-gear wheelies. So there's that. I'm not hurrying past the engine, but if it seems like I am, that's only because of how excited I am to mention the suspension, which is arguably the best feature of the 1090 Adventure R, if not the best suspension on any adventure touring bike to date. How so? For starters, it's more supportive and controlled through its stroke, but without feeling harsh over bigger hits. I only recall bottoming out once or twice while working my way into the much rockier Anza Borrego Desert State Park, but felt plenty comfortable cruising down the pavement. One of my biggest complaints with the Honda Africa Twin is the lack of confidence its suspension and chassis gives you when really pushing off-road, and that's exactly where the 1090 Adventure R sets itself apart. Best part is that, unlike the 1190 Adventure R bits, which felt decent but definitely needed some setup time, the 1090 bits feel completely dialed from the word go. I wouldn't know how to make them better. Didn't feel like I needed to. Steering is lighter overall, the lower curb weight and less rotating mass at the engine allowing the 1090 to tackle trails with a level of precision that bigger, heavier ADV bikes could only dream of. Standing up on the optional rally foot pegs that KTM had mounted, I felt more like I was on a dual sport bike than an adventure bike, simply because of how I could throw the bike around beneath me and climb on top of it. On bigger adventure bikes you feel like you're along for the ride and need to just let the weight do its thing. They're good enough that they almost always come back, but on the 1090 you're in charge. You can pick lines easier, navigate obstacles easier, everything. I still think there is room for bigger adventure touring models. Cross-country travels are a more pleasant thing on, well, bigger things. But for the extended, weekend-long explorations with friends, a bike like the 1090 makes amazing sense. It might be the smaller option, but it strikes a better balance between practical and performance. You might think KTM had to make compromises to get here, but the honest truth is that it's made a better bike overall. From the suspension to the engine, I couldn't find much to dislike about the 1090 Adventure R. Honda's Africa Twin at $13,299 is an obvious competitor, and while the two still take a slightly different approach to the category, I think the 1090 offers all of the same levels of versatility, with the added benefit of more performance the second you get into the dirt. One thing's for sure, I can't wait to get these two bikes together. Maybe we'll just avoid the sand. Specifications: engine type, displacement, bore, stroke, seat height, rake, trail, wheelbase, fuel capacity, claimed dry weight, price.